world, how are you? We have some Q&A to do. I hope you're doing fine, cause it's Q&A time again. Hello world, how's it going? Hope you guys are all doing great. If not, as always, I hope it gets better for you. So welcome to another Friday Night Live Q&A, where you can ask the aquarium community and I questions on keeping freshwater fish and or plants. But the whole point of being here, like I say, as always, it's a great support system for you guys keeping aquariums and just somewhere where we can talk about our problems or just questions or perspectives, all kinds of things, aquariums, because I'm an aquarium addict. And since I'm an aquarium addict, I'm here to help share what I have found throughout all these years in the hundreds of aquariums in many ways that I have kept them. Craig Broderick, see in here, what are you drinking tonight? Always asking what I'm drinking. I am on a good old well water. This came out of the hose because I didn't want to go to the house to get the good water. Still good. I think it's full of iron, so that's good. I don't need to take my vitamins because of it. It is highly oxygenated, though. I usually gotta let it sit for a little while because it is so oxygenated. I have it's like one of these oxygen atmospheric kind of things that take the iron, help take out the iron out of the water as it comes in. Because if I didn't, my water would be yellow from that whale that I got in here. But Thomas G, oh my goodness, thank you so much for upgrading the membership to platinum. That is sweet. That is awesome that YouTube actually tells me that too on this live stream. Because usually they're not the best at notifications. And that is awesome. Thank you so much for all the awesome support for such a long time, Thomas G. But hello, everybody in the chat. Great to see you guys all in here. Hello. I wish I could shout out all your names, but then I miss somebody. And then if somebody would want to be shouted out too, you know how that old rundown goes. Tracy Brunson says, y'all having some hot weather in Florida? Howdy, Lucas. So the weather has been hot. I think it's been hot everywhere. Lucas, clean your lens. I think it's blurry. It shouldn't be blurry. It could be just the internet getting in here. Hold on. Give it a little wipe. Just make you feel better. But I quit moving my hands. I'm moving my hands a lot. And the lens, the internet doesn't like it when I move my hands. But I think it's better when I move your hands because it kind of gives you guys visuals. But anyways, Florida hot, everywhere hot. It's been crazy hot. Feels like hundreds. Like I am cooked. I am absolutely cooked from the sun. I am beat from the sun. All you construction workers, all you guys out there who got to work out in this weather, God bless. I know it's rough too. I've been out there. I've done it, but it has been horrible. And all shipments been good, so that's been good. And I don't know. Like I've been cooking, I've been dealing with it. It is what it is. It'll go by after a while. I mean, it's summertime. It's July. It's kind of normal. But I'd rather have it this hot than cold. Cold sucks. Yeah, it's probably because I was moving my hands around too much. I'll quit moving my hands around. Christopher Secker says, I have a question. The news has been talking about PFO, the forever chemicals in my tap water causing permanent damage to humans, but does anybody know if it has any effects on fish? So, in my opinion, fish are like the canaries in the gold mine, or in the coal mine. The fish are going to have effects before us humans really have effect. And the stuff that they've been doing to the water, the stuff that companies have been getting away from, the courtocracy that we've been living in with lobbyists and all kinds of things. Don't even get me started on like the big hedge funds who really try to control things with other private groups and organizations. Sooner people find out that these people and corporations are all private, I think the more we'd be able to organize and do something better over it. But until people really get their heads out of the sand, it's hard to do anything different. There's many people waking up and doing different things. I could get onto this subject deeply, deeply, because I know it's not so much fish related, but it is kind of fish related, because if we're not taking care of our environment, then what are we really doing? Period. As a human race, we should be taking care of our environment, number one. Now, saying this, things like these waters, things like all this crap and crud that they've been dumping into these ponds, lakes, and things, you look down decades, 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 there was always something. They were always doing things. 1800s, like even back then, the waterways. I've read books about how they would just destroy these rivers to the point where nothing lived in them. It is really remarkable how Mother Nature always bounces back from this too. Like, say, East Palestine. How many people have forgot about that right now? And what happened to all the chemicals from all of that, which they tried to suppress? A lot of these things that I'm saying, I probably shouldn't say, because the algorithms will pick them up on keywords, and my channel is already, I think, has enough of those to the point in the things that I watch, because they do actually track your data. They judge you on your watch history. They have all this data. Instagram has come out now showing and proving that they have all this data on you guys. It's like a credit score system without a real credit score system. It's behind the books. They don't really say they use it, but you know that stuff's being collected. But anyways, your fish are going to be the canary in the coal mine as far as when it comes to the water, and if something does happen to them. So hopefully, I mean, I know I don't stress about it too much, because God be looking out, and it does say meek will inherit the earth. And so many people are becoming conscious about what's going on, that the whole meaning of apocalypse is really the unknown. So as these things happen, there's a feeling of these things happening. Most people don't realize it, and then that's the like, oh my God, and then we start realizing, okay, well, we should probably do this and fix where things are. But the media is so washed, and it has been. A big reason why YouTube's the way it is now too is because Hollywood was burning, and it came into this. But let me just say this: the world is a stage. There's a bunch of players. Why do they call the war scenes theaters? Even in war rooms, Pentagon, all that, they call it theaters. Look how they talk about players, stages. They think it's a big game. Your life, everybody's life. It's funny. People really realize the system, the matrix that was created for us, and then they try to believe you, oh, that's just how it is. Like, no, it's not. It's what you fools are pushing. But anyways, got on a rant there. Drifters Workshop, what did he say? FCK, yeah. I wish I would say that, but then I get in trouble with YouTube. Thomas G says 2 months until I level up. I level up again? That would be crazy. I think you would be the first at that next level. But glad things are going good for you, and heck yeah, keep it grinding, bro. I hope it goes great. All right, Well, yeah, I guess, I mean, my name is Nature's Advocate now, so I guess I can go on rants like that. It's only proper, right? It's all systematic into it. And then I gotta say one more thing too, since we're on this subject. When they talk about climate change and the climate change crisis and the things that are going on, like, yeah, climate does always change, but the reason why they're setting all these climate change and agreements and ESG and all this other stuff is because they're the ones manipulating the weather. You look into it, look into Operation Popeye, where they smoke screen. They've been using this stuff for decades and decades, 70 years now plus, of manipulating the weather, and it's just gotten more and more to where the rich countries are the ones that are manipulating it more, so then they got to pay back towards the smaller countries, because they are the ones creating the climate crisis through the manipulations that they are creating. And you can watch it. If you've watched the sky, I've watched the sky since I was a kid. and I've watched it change so much. And people used to talk all kinds of smack, but all I can do is raise awareness to it. Open that book. I can't get you to drink water. I can't. Whatever is your choice. Life is choice and decision. Those are yours. You choose that. But I know what I know, and I see what I see. And from there, it's all about perspective, and it's the narrative on how they push it. They want you to think, oh, the sky is falling. We're all going to crash. Like Billy Joel saying, we didn't start the fire. The world's been turning since, or the world's been burning since the world's been turning. It's always something. But anyways, most people, they're great heart people, and that's what they do. They take advantage of our kindness. And it's a problem. All right, we got any fish-related questions? Did you guys just want me to rant on this kind of stuff? Because it almost seems like you guys do. I believe I'm in. Oh, I've been in light top chat, so that'll definitely help get out of there. Elder B, he's talking about the lights causing the fuzz. Oh, yeah, the lights. Eventually, we'll get taken care of that. The lights do kind of cause a fuzz. That's way down the road. I got to get to a water change system. I wish I could read Drifter's Workshop's comment from earlier, but it will not let me. Do you keep goldfish? I do have goldfish. I've got some goldfish in a 55. And they're kicking it with a bunch of dwarf neons and some gold laser cories. And you talk about an inch per gallon in that tank, I am way off the charts. And it's no filter. It's actually no tech. There's not even a light on it. There's nothing on it. Oh yeah, Richard Reynolds looking to the committee at 300. That's just part. That's part of it. It all extends back to Operation Paperclip for the most part, and then you go farther back into that kind of stuff. And where that extends from, and the families and the connections, and it's only part of it. And what's funny is our monetary system, if we really realize our financial and monetary system and how much of a farce it is, and when they talk about economy and economies, and whose economy are they talking about? Like, look at the gaming system, gaming industry alone. Look at the economies that are created within a lot of those video games alone. Some of those video game people, I know they make as much as some small countries probably within just their economy. But usually when they're saying, oh, the economy is falling, the sky is falling, it's their economy that they're worried about, not your economy. Because you're the one, even though you're the one paying their economy for the most part. Let's see. Lady Diane, where are those lines in the sky? Lithium, barium, and aluminum, a few other things. Nick Gianola says, do you feed your fry or just rely on the existing food web and algae? So I feed everything. So when you got a food web and algae in your aquarium, like, yes, I can feed them, but you've also got to feed that food web as well. So when I put in food for the fry and for the fish, the microorganisms will actually eat off that food that the fry and or fish may not eat. So it all kind of works into a whole ecosystem. So think of your food as in insects dying into your aquarium and then getting eaten, or bugs, or even anything protein, like that's protein falling into the water, or whatever your food may be. That's it. That's what they're eating off. That's what the ecosystem is going to eat off, even at bacterial levels, Oh, Lady Diane had to approve it. I'm glad you approved that. Because I don't like, if many of you guys have been watching my channel for a long time, you guys know I don't censor crap. You guys can say whatever. As long as you're not hurting people and just being a fool, But if you got something bad to say to me or some like controversial or you want to on whatever, I am always open book for like, hey, I don't. You say you don't agree with something of mine, like please tell me. Like I'm always open air to talk about it. J Hydro says, do you not use any air system in your tanks? So I don't use any air systems. I don't have anything. And honestly, like I should be doing water changes to help oxygenate through. And it is better for my fish and for my plants, but I really don't get a whole lot of that done since I'm in build mode. And I'm just really keeping fancy mud puddles in glass boxes. Nature does all the work. It's not my system. It's not this person's system. It's nature's system. And that's what happens around here. And I've kept all kinds of cichlids, guppies, barbs, tetras, rasboras, loaches, corygats, rainbow fish, you name it. All those fish you guys like. As long as they're not like real big fish, which still you gotta have a proper setup for them anyways. All right. Yojo Cromwood says, did your wife start the plant nursery? So she's got plants going on in the house. I really need to update you guys on, and I still have not done a video for that yet for you guys. There's just been so much on my plate. Right now, I've kind of been back into build mode. Got a bunch of tanks kind of started up with sand, rock, and hopefully get some water into them here soon. And moving other tanks around, but we will be showing all that here shortly sometime soon. We do need to show more of that. And hopefully when this whole fry rack system area gets done, we can focus more on getting stuff outside and pushed on out there to where we expand more into nursery, get like sprinkler systems and things going. Richard Reynolds says, have you been getting as much rain as we've had? 12 inches in the last week. That's crazy. So this last week, no, but the week before or 2 weeks before that, it's hard for me to keep up because I do so much in the weeks that they kind of blur and blend together, especially when I was running around getting them tanks. But around that time, there was heck of rain. Not really this last week, but the week before. Awesome Aquaball says I just hatched some of the Nothiobranchus durhami koi eggs. They're a lot of fry from one breeding. Are you breeding any killifish these days? So I'm not personally breeding any at the moment just because there's such a labor of love to breed and kind of take time. Most of what I'm breeding is like I musical fish it, and all of a sudden, once I take the adults out, I've got babies. That's what that means. I'll musical fish. I'll take my fish, move them to another tank, kind of like musical chair. I don't know if you guys play that. I should probably have a better name for what I call that. But anyways, I move the parents. Babies come out. That's how I get my babies these days. The killies, you got to kind of pick the eggs and harvest them, wait for them, and add the water at a certain point and track it all. And I just haven't had time to do that. But I do plan on doing more killies as far as personally breeding myself. I try to pick up killies where I can to help share them in the hobby, though, for all you guys, because I know it can be hard for people to source killies, especially for those who live out in the country and stuff. Ron Harriman says, how are the low boys doing? They're doing great. Actually, I need to do an update video with you guys since that was one of the newer ones. And I've got a guppy video where I will be showing you guys all the awesome guppies I just got in. And I got to do the weekly members roundup, but I've got a bag stuff for club meeting tomorrow. It's gonna be busy. So I'll get more content out for you guys. I was hoping you guys would catch up on just the last week's content. It seems like, I don't know, I think YouTube caps my views at a certain, no matter how much content I give to you guys, it will not push it, or it will wait days later to push it because I'm at like my view limit for my account, I guess, because that's the only thing. Like, even it doesn't matter if the analytics are like 100% like or watched 150% watch. audience retention on it, it doesn't matter. It still won't push it. It's crazy. But we gotta leave views for the big names, I guess. Let's see. I don't know. I don't like how they changed their system, but I do. I plan on showing you guys the low boys update on them because those rice fish babies have gotten big already. The dwarf, the rainbows, they take a little more time. You'll see the difference when I show you guys that video. So subscribe if you want to see that. Spec V Turbo says if you had, and what he's referring to, last video I had was raising, catching baby fish, pretty much a whole rundown on how to really like make raise and fry up really easy for yourself. Spec V Turbo says, if you had to do anything over again, knowing what you know, what would you change about your setup? So, what a lot of people don't know, especially new subscribers, is I have done this before. I had a house where I had hundreds of aquariums. So, number one, I wanted to centralize everything when I moved. And if I had to change anything up again, and the only reason why is because I had to build this for storage for my construction stuff behind me, but I would do this area probably a little differently. But besides that, I'm building it how I want to and how I need to. Now, I wish I had more money to like really spend the money on getting certain things done, not having to work so hard, wait so hard, or tooth and nail and white knuckle every little buck that comes through to build this setup. That'd been nice, but I'm not in the debt system, so I can't complain. So we're working on it bit by bit, here. And after the fry rack, I do want to focus on the water change system. That will be one of the biggest ones that I'm going to be throwing all my money at. Bracon, which is just going to be in and out water flow systems. Bracon, starting with the fry rack because they'll need it the most. Bracon says, any fish you could put in your ponds to breed or think most species will get eaten. So that's a slippery slope just because of those big ponds out there in nature, and we get a lot of birds come through. I'm not trying to really get any fish spread around that don't need to be spread around. Granted, I don't think it'd be an issue, but I don't know. I thought about it just like, oh, it'd be cool to put butterfly koi in there and whatnot, but I'm gonna let nature out there. I do plan on doing little ponds and little setups outside here in the future. Window liquor number 5. What do you think of electric cars? I think it is a big mistake. So it has a lot of downfalls for sure. And considering the energy that we have, hydrogen has been, if they would just set the right systems up, we wouldn't be going around this electric car bullcrap. It ain't even necessary in my opinion. It's a way to make a buck. It's a way to drag out the future and make a dollar in between. That's my opinion. And don't get me started on lithium mining and how that destroys stuff. Those batteries are great. I love my lithium batteries for my power tools. Outside and aquatics and, like solar panels and stuff. But you can make batteries out of sand. You can make batteries out of salt water. You can make batteries out of duckweed ponds. You can make batteries out of all kinds of stuff. They quit suppressing the knowledge and actually share this information with more people and actually study it more, then it would be better. But they have energy now where they can concentrate the sun into just a tiny little beam, and the amount of energy that they can get and harness from that, oh, it's insanity. Outside and aquatics, I'll be taking a vacation for 4 days. Will it be okay not to feed? I'm thinking about having someone come over maybe at the 2-day mark to feed. So, your tanks, I've seen your tanks. They're very natural sort of setups. You got plant material in there and other things. it's not like real sterile. As long as your tanks aren't real sterile, then yeah, it's okay. You wouldn't even have to feed them for the 4 days. So when I leave, if I were to leave for a week, I wouldn't even worry about it. I wouldn't have anybody come over and feed anything, because usually what happens, and I've heard so many stories, is, oh, I thought the fish was super hungry or need to do this. If you do have somebody and they end up putting too much, and then the tank gets funky, and then everything dies because of old rotten food. Old rotten food will kill a tank quicker than anything else. And it happens probably more often than anything else. If you did want somebody to come in and feed, make sure you have that portioned out, label it like day one or something, and have each for each tank. Make it dummy proof. And that way they're not given a whole container. Never give the person that you plan on to have feed your fish while you're on vacation a full container of food. Never do it. So just advice for that. And doing it in the halfway mark, that's a great idea too. Now, if you're breeding and stuff like that, maybe you want to feed your fish more often. Like I mentioned, portion it out for the people who are going to feed them for you. Nature knows best, that's for sure. Nature's been doing it a long time, longer than us. Erie first says, Lucas, you know there's a baby deer in the sanctuary named after you. I appreciate that, Erie. You mentioned that. And I kind of believe you. I kind of believe you. I have a feeling you probably really did do that. And I appreciate that. Poor buck. All right. Thank you, Lady Diane, for reminding people to throw them question marks behind the questions. Matt Hoffman says, how are the new guppies and plants liking the new QT setup? It looks amazing. Well, thank you, Matt. Appreciate that, and all your support for a long time. They're doing great. I've got babies. I did lose a couple, so I lost a male of one of the like yellow, black, and white ones, and my male black Moscow died. But the female had babies of those and some more babies, but I am loving my QT setup. I really can't wait to show you guys that. I just got done filling up the middle tanks, 20 gallons, in hopes that I may find something snazzy at the club meeting. Who knows? I think I'm gonna get rid of my cichlids though, you guys. I think I'm gonna get rid of my cichlids. Like, the only reason why I'm really keeping cichlids right now, and I don't know, for some reason I've never been that drawn into them. They are cool. I'll probably keep my Julia chromis just because I absolutely love those fish. But they're like the shyest fish. The cichlids, the Tanganicans, especially like the shellies and the ocellatus, they're a pain in the butt to catch. And they're always so shy. I like the fish that come up at you. They want to meet and greet you, kind of like water puppies. Those are the ones I like. I don't like the shy fish so much. So saying that, I might get rid of some of my Tanganicans. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about it though. I'm still on the fence. It's just they're such a pain to catch, and there's only so much tank space. So maybe if I had like 500 tanks, the decision would be easier. But unfortunately, I don't have 500 tanks. Just one more fish. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. Just one more fish. Ooh, I gotta keep my hands down. I forgot. Hands to my side, or the internet will die. Says, hey, LRB, hope you're having a great day. Just coming in. Well, welcome in here. I am having a great day. I'm actually rather enjoying this live stream. They let me go on some rants at the beginning of things that I don't normally get to talk to, that I would love to express and talk to and articulate more to the public. But also probably one of the reasons why they don't want me to have a big platform either. It's a dangerous game. Alright, being good here. Dale Cantrell, but thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Dale Cantrell says, do you have any Melanitania calligicora? All hell applause, Gothic Aquatics. Well, what's up, Gothic Aquatics? Appreciate that. I don't have any of the calligicora. See, that's the thing, is there's so many rainbow fish types. I can barely even scratch the surface. Even if I were to even keep nothing but rainbow fish in all these aquariums, there's so many types out there. And those are, I do not know where to. I think, I don't know if Dan's Fish had those recently. I think Dan's Fish actually, if you've never heard of him, dansfish.com, he actually has quite a bit of a rainbow fish collection. And I think he may have had those Jacaras. So you're welcome, Dan's Fish. Get a plug there. He deserves it, though. That guy's been doing so much. Chia Pet says, why don't you put the clay pots on the shelf in front of you in the tanks for the fish to play with? Well, I do put, well, I put the rocks kind of in the back. I don't know. See, with my 20 gallons, I kind of want to put, I don't know, I feel like I need more rice fish space. And I don't know, if I get more things to go outside, then I'll have more space for like rice fish and more guppies, and because there's so many cool guppies and there's so many cool rice fish, more that I'm realizing as time goes by. And it's like you got to pick favorites. It's so hard. As many of you guys know, I'm terrible at picking favorites. I like them all. I'm like a Pokemon master. I want to collect them all in all kinds of regards of things in life, because, well, life is for the living, you know. Gotta enjoy it while you're here. But yeah, I don't know. I still gotta debate all that. I'm just sharing what's in my brain with you guys. Sometimes that's my problem. I share too much. Y'all can't hold it so. Like, seriously, sometimes. I don't know. Because I change my mind a lot. I'm a Gemini. I will think one thing. I'll be like, oh, yeah, this is going to be it. This is it. I'm going to do it this way. And I've thought this way so many times with my fish room, too. Like, this is where I'm going to do it. It's in my mind. I've already spent like 2 months trying to figure this out. And that one perspective hits you one night when you're just thinking, and it changes everything. You can't be afraid to go back and change. You got to change and adapt to evolve. So even if you thought you had it set in stone, is it always so set in stone? But that's a great thing about the aquarium hobby, is there's so many ways to do it. It's one of them hobbies, which is very rare for a hobby at all, to be able to allow so many variables and creation opportunities and ideals and chances and perspectives and ways of keeping that can just go on and on and on and just be enjoyable too. It's crazy. It's cool. I don't even know how many hobbies I've been through. Sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions. I'm doing my best here. Del Cantrell says, Lucas, they aren't out to the hobby yet. If I can get permission, would you like to help me breed them out? Last I heard, they were extinct in the wild from a second collect attempt. Oh, interesting. I did hear about those liqueur. I know what you're talking about. Maybe it was your Instagram I maybe seen those on too. But I know I saw them in a couple places. Because, like, I'm on it. Like, I'm in, like, the nitty-gritty down in the trenches when it comes to looking at rare fish. I mean, that's what I do. And as far as breeding them, I'm sure they're like every other rainbow fish. I'm not sure exactly where they come from. But if you look into my rainbow fish breeding videos, it's not too hard to breed rainbow fish. And those videos should help you. But I can help you with breeding them. If you want to, like, shoot me an email or message on Instagram with, like, questions you may have with them, then go ahead and send them over. I'll help you out. That way you can have more connection and chance to do so. Because, like you said, second collect attempt, not always can they find these fish, and as well as the opportunities to go to these places to collect these fish. They've been shutting down and keeping collectors out of many places now. Daniel McNamara says, update on any new rainbows coming down the pike that might be for sale soon. So as far as me, I have the Pagai, Pagai, I don't know how you say it, Pagai, Chonatheria trifasciatas. And then, oh, I don't think they're trifasciata. Let's see, what else do I got? Like some of those maculosus are still fried, dwarf neons. I do got some of those. I just sold them out. There's kind of like a rad looking rainbow fish. I can't even remember. Melanda Creek, I think. There's so many names of them. Pygmaeus. But a lot of these, I don't know, they end up selling so fast since I don't have much space to split them up. The thing with rainbow fish is you'll get like 1,000 babies out of them. And then as they grow up and raise up, that you ain't gonna get 1,000 juveniles out of them. You're gonna get like maybe 30, 40, depending on how much water you've got, how much water change you do, and how many you can split up into multiple tanks. Now, say you did get like a couple hundred fry, but you're able to split up those 100 fry into like 20, 20, 20, and 20, or however so, you would actually get more out of it. Because what happens is you get these rainbows called the runners, and once they're able to run around, they will just start taking out all the smaller ones, and it's kind of like a survival of the fittest. Like, that's how nature works in that department, and so you'll only end up with so many. Now, more water volume you have, the better, and the more food you can provide, say like Daphnia, and kind of set up your system like I had in my last video where it talks about raising and catching fry and all that stuff, where you add Daphnia and other microorganisms in there, you can get better numbers out of it without having to do as much work. So there are ways to think about it and get around it if you use nature to your advantage. And a lot of people see my floating plants as well. I've got to mention this, and I never really do really haven't really thought about really mentioning it to you guys as much. Is a big reason why I can grow my plants floating out like they are and all crazy, and where they like spread and go tank to tank. If I was running an airline system or a filter at all, I would not be having that success with those plants like that. Like, having no filter situations has a lot of benefits. A lot of benefits. The funny bookworm says, I feel like a lot of people rely on the naturalistic fallacy in this hobby. How is it a naturalistic fallacy? I don't even understand that. What are you saying? Nature's fake in this hobby and life in general. Nature doesn't always equal better. No, mosquito bites suck, fire ant bites suck. But life is full of its ups and downs. There's duality in this world. So it's not always going to be lollipops and unicorns. But as far as when it comes to keeping a fish, like, yeah, nature does know better, a lot better than the human error of it. Trust me, I've been in this hobby a long time teaching people about keeping aquariums, especially in different ways. And nature has its ways. For instance, if algae didn't exist, and many people fight algae so much. If that algae didn't exist, you guys would be having so many other problems because it helps equalize those excess of nutrients or whatever that would pollute your water systems, and things that we don't know are fallacies when it comes to keeping aquariums. Nature has been doing it a long time, to where if you even wanted to label fallacies in there, it's going to have a lot less fail and fallacy than a human would when it comes to trying to keep an aquarium. But I like that comment. Thanks for that. Let's see. So I like things that let me help think and express these perspectives to y'all because I think it's important. Let's see. Scroll. And if you got a question or even a comment like that, shoot, because it's not always easy for me to catch those kind of comments. I don't know. I almost had to tell you to put a question mark behind it because that's what I'm going to read. I look for question marks because this is a Q&A. Yes, the Melanda is the newly described name for the Williams Creek. Thank you, Lady Diane. I was trying to, because I get it mixed up with the Williams Creek, but then I was looking on the internet for Williams Creek and it came up with like some golf course in Australia. And then the Melandas weren't linked with the Williams Creek, but that's how they are labeled for me. So I just know how things get named sometimes in the fish hobby. But Jessica Hussey, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. LRB, it is 110 here in Arizona. Feed or not feed my pond. So your fish at 110, their metabolism is going to be a lot. Let's just say their blood's flowing, their metabolism's going. They're going to want to eat. So when it's cooler and they're kind of more hibernate, not using their energy as much, then no, you don't really want to feed them. But when it is warmer, you do want to feed them. But as always, watch them. Say they don't want to eat, or you may have overfed them. They'll tell you if they're going to eat or not. They may mouth it and spit it out, but if they're mouthing it and eating it and feed a little bit here and there, it should be good. But yeah, even when it says like 98, it said like 98 here. Actually, it said 94 here today, but it was 100. But then I get in the car and it's reading like 120. So it all depends on what the sun's hitting too and what it's absorbing. So even though the air can feel like a certain temperature, what it hits are ponds. If you don't have shade and stuff, they can actually collect a lot more heat than even the air. So if you got open direct sun, be careful with that. And if any chance, you can use potted plants or you can use some of those nice like canvas shade cloths or even an umbrella. Mary Page Flynn, thank you so much for the $3 super chat, Mary Page. I appreciate you. She's so sweet. I love Mary Page. I got to meet her at the Triple Crown this year, which was awesome. I'd definitely hang out with her on anytime. And her husband. Her husband was cool. They're my kind of people. All right, I'm at the bottom of the chat. That's where I'm at. So if you got a question, throw it down. Or if you just want to say something. If not, then I don't know. What can I talk about? Y'all have me on all kinds of other rants. Oh, website's updated. I guess I should mention the website. I usually tend to forget that. I tried to remind myself earlier today too that remember to remind everybody about the website. So things are updated on that as every Friday we do for the in stock. And your guys' support on there has been absolutely amazing, you guys. I could never thank you guys all enough. Like seriously, really appreciate it. And let's see. How about glass tanks outside? Do they get hot like the plastic ones? I will find out this year. So they don't get as hot as like, say if it was black plastic, because that black's gonna absorb. A glass actually reflects a lot, so it won't get as hot direct if it's directly, but as always, try to put it in a shaded area. I'm actually getting ready to take the 75s and all the other tanks that are over where I'm gonna build my fry racks. I'm gonna put them outside. I'll be doing a video on that too, where I'm gonna level out the, at least like rake away the leaves and the acorns and stuff like that and kind of get it somewhat smoothed out for the area. And then I'm planning on keeping them in my most shaded area. So if you want to keep yard tanks, try to find your most shaded area. And if you can't find a whole lot of shade, at least try to get it to where it's only morning sun. Ow, dang, my knee. To where it's just morning sun and not the hot evening sun directly. Oh, God. Sitting in that space. Not moving my leg enough. I've been, with all the work I've been doing, it's just my legs are cooked. They're done. I've stressed and overstrained them enough. They need a break. Gotta listen to my body. Gotta listen to my body here. Can't get still, though. LRB, are you going to the Clash? I wish. I do not have time to make it all the way to the Clash. That's like a 19-hour drive for me. Nick Gianola says, do you culture any live food? So I do kind of culture live foods. They kind of culture themselves. So I got lots of live food living in my aquariums. Daphnia is often scattered about. I've got some blackworms that are spread out. Paramecium that lives in like my shrimp tanks and infusoria and stuff like that, where you can actually see them almost like they're cultured. And then green water, that's kind of a live culture too. M. Myers, 1987, but I don't like naturally culture. I don't have them like, no, I naturally culture them. I don't have them in like, oh, this is my system for this, or this is my system for this culture, or they're just in and around in my fish room, in my aquariums, and I could use them whenever I need them. They naturally live somewhere. M. Myers, 1987, don't you miss keeping fish species that do need a filtration system? What fish species actually needs a filtration system? Actually, that's a greater question right there. Give me one fish. Tell me one fish that needs a filtration system. And I'll tell you. Because I don't know. I ain't seen one. I ain't seen one. Not one I've kept. Did you want that rototiller? I don't have a large enough place to justify it taking up space. If you did bring that rototiller, I would not be able to carry it with me because we are in the, we got a rental right now. The van is getting fixed. It's been getting fixed for like a week now. So I want to be able to put it anywhere. It'd be hard to say no to a rototiller, especially get my farming on. Naomi H2O says, would like to order some shrimp and rice fish from you, but worried that it's too hot as they traverse the country. I'm in Seattle area, still good to ship. In Seattle, I mean, I've been shipping anyways. As long as you don't leave it in the box to get hot, it should be fine. I've been shipping year-round for a long time. It's usually the cold that becomes the problem, not the heat as much. But yeah, just be careful. If you feel like, if it's going to be like 120 degrees in your area, though, you should probably not order fish from me. You should probably wait till the next week. But if it's going to be like, I would say 90 to 100 in your area, then as long as you don't keep them out in the mailbox for too long, you'll be all right. Oh, I got bit by a couple fire ants today. Itching. They are itching. Scrolly McScrollerson. Pile Aquatic says, do you think a no-filter tank would work outside under a patio when the temperature gets to 95? Yeah, definitely. Definitely for sure. It's where I learned how to do all my no-filter tanks, is outside with no filters. Good old nature, bro. Spec V Turbo says, if you clean the front of your tanks from algae using the same sponge material, or do you have a separate cleaning sponge material so you don't spread something from tank to tank? So what I try to do is keep things for like a system or a rack. So this rack has this net and this rack has this scraper. And that way I would only have to say if something did happen for some reason to one point that I would decide that throwing chemical stuff into my aquarium was better than just letting nature take its course, then, or approaching it naturally, then I would only have to deal with that one rack instead of it spreading to like the whole fish room. Now I do quarantine things to where they've got to spend a month in my house before they even get it to the barn here. So I don't really be tracking really anything in. But I used to be like that where I felt like, oh, I got to have a net for this tank, this tank, this tank, this tank. Like I was so skeeved and sketched on like, I'm going to track this to this. I'm going to track that to that. Man, more I've been doing this more natural stuff. I'm like, it's just, I don't know. You don't worry about it so much. There's so many things we worry about when we first get in the aquarium hobby, especially like all the microscopic organisms, because we hear all these horror stories of like, this ate or killed my fish or whatever, you know. When half the time, a lot of the reasons these fish die is usually over medication and terrible immunity by the time that makes them susceptible to these negative things that can happen to them. Because when you destroy immunities, just like in people, they become more susceptible to stuff. Oh, Henry Figaro, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says, would you ever make more videos on finding or seeing fish here in Florida in their natural homes? Thank you for all you do for the fish community. Yes, definitely. I used to do a series where I'd do wild tanks and I'd go out and check out like the wild area of a place, and then I'd drag like a 10-gallon around and make a little scape out of it. Used to do those. I don't know if I'll continue to do like the escape part of it, but I do love to go out. And we got all those springs around here in Florida. Like I do plan on showing you guys so much more of that kind of stuff. And even in my ponds that I've got outside, like right now, the last video that you guys saw of my ponds out there, the water level in ponds are completely different now due to the water table rising and everything. So a lot of it's underwater. It's really cool. And I do plan on showing you guys a lot more of that here in the future. But thank you for the super chat there, Henry. And if you want those shelis, let me know. Freak, I was about to take them to the club because it is a killifish talk. But I do know you want them. So it's like now is the time, like, do you want them or should I take them to the club? I kind of need to know that. So if you can let me know on that, Henry, that would be awesome. I'll be looking out for it. All right. Scroll, scroll, scroll. We're getting too close to the hour mark, too. I can't go too far over tonight. Just, there's way too much stuff to do tonight. Supreme Leader Army, do you ship to Canada? No, unfortunately, I can't. They said, your shipments stop here at our border. They don't like us going over to your territory, I guess. Us Americans and our fish. Okay, let's see. M. Meyer says, like an Oscar, big plecos, several catfish species, etc. Mostly the bigger boys, without keeping them in a huge pond. Well, you shouldn't be keeping them anyways unless you got a huge pond system or something. So you kind of answered your question there. So a lot of them big plecos you probably could, as long as, and several catfish. Once again, it just becomes how big a water volume do you have? You can keep them with filterless. I've seen many catfish in filterless situations outside. Same with plecos and cichlids, big cichlids. My ponds outside, they don't have filters. Well, they kind of got aquifers, so it's a little different. But they got lots of beneficial bacteria. You got enough beneficial bacteria for things. It takes care of business. Nature does its thing. MHB says, using airstone only or sponge filter. Looking forward to my Plant order too. Appreciate you. Well, thank you for the plant order. I appreciate that. Am I using Airstone or sponge filter, or you're asking should you? I don't use either. You could use either. Good thing about sponge filters is they do hold beneficial bacteria in them. Airstones kind of turn the water around and stuff. They do create splatter. They are extra cost and they are noisy. Um, I personally don't use them. You can use them. They each have their own benefit. The only difference between an Airstone and a sponge filter is the sponge filter is pretty much the addition of somewhere for your beneficial bacteria to live and colonize other than your substrate. And when I did use them, I never cleaned them. I'd actually bury them so they weren't so unsightly. Greg, I appreciate that. Greg Jones says, "What's up, Plain Claus? The folk hero we deserve." You're so funny. I love that. Spec V Turbo said, thank you so much for that $5 super chat. Says, thanks for taking the time to do this and answer questions. We as fish keepers are better off with getting some knowledge from you. Well, thank you for the support. I really appreciate that. I'm glad I'm able to be here for you guys and to help people out with keeping aquariums in this hobby, because like I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, is more we get people and people have fun and enjoy the hobby of keeping aquariums, to where it's not so much work, it's not so much stress, it's not like, oh, I can't do that, or I've always wanted to do that, but just the maintenance involved, I just couldn't. It's just so much work. And it's that mindset forth and ahead that people get stuck on, and more people get to realize that it doesn't have to be as hard as many of us make it to be, and we can enjoy nature. The more we connect to nature, which just helps the world and humanity in a whole, because as much as we try to fight it, and many people try to fight it or try to illusion themselves into the fact that some people think we're not connected to nature, we're connected to nature. There's no doubt about it. We are part of the nature. Nature is part of us. We need to coexist naturally and symbiotically. So I appreciate your support, and I appreciate all you guys come by, watching, liking, subscribing, hitting the views, motivating me to keep doing this stuff. Seriously, you guys have built all this. I'm kind of like the butter in between. I'm the oil and the grease of this. But you guys have helped build so much of this. So thank you guys so much. Because I wouldn't have put my mind to be able to get these perspectives if I didn't have these opportunities and experiments and connections. God works in mysterious ways. Let me just say that. That's for sure. Scott Talley says, LRB, are you using CO2? So I don't use CO2. I have used CO2 back in the past. I used to do like whole manifolds and had at least 14 CO2 tanks going, was probably the most at once, which those are a little harder to fine tune. You got to have individual valves and stuff when you're doing the manifolds, because it's all a pressure thing. And the best thing to do if you do want to use CO2, less is more. Be careful using too much. You're going to make your fish drunk. You're going to really screw them up. If you look into a lot of the high-tech CO2 tanks, the fish aren't usually very big, and there's usually not that many of them, because you're messing with the oxygen atmospheric levels to the point that CO2 is higher in that regard to what the fish are normal. Also, you can outgas the CO2 with your filtration. So less filtration is actually more in that same situation as well. The biggest trick and easiest keeper, if you are using filtration, keep your filtration dirty. because the dirtier that filtration is, the more it has to push that water through a smaller micron level, which helps clarify the water more and more. Usually algae will always happen. You will always have to maintain algae. No matter how much you fight to clean your filter, no matter how much you fight to put a chemical in, no matter how much CO2 you fight to put in there, algae will always happen. Always. And that's why you maintain weekly maintenance, especially with the high-tech guys with the really nice plated tanks where they're running the CO2. They've got their canister filters. Those guys are doing weekly maintenance to get it to look like that. And just make sure that you just don't gas your fish with CO2. That's all I got to say. CO2 is like steroids for plants. It's more for your plants and stems, really stem plants, than anything. A lot of plants don't necessarily need it. Good water change, a good routine water change can actually be almost just as beneficial as CO2 because you do get that reoxygenation of not just CO2 but nitrogen and other gases. LED says, I like that. LED says, hi, just tuning in. My tank is overdue for a vacuum. Oh, but there are a lot of assassin snails. What's the best way to clean up without accidentally smashing the snails? I don't know. I don't usually vacuum clean myself, so this is what I'll do. Say if you didn't like the sight of the detritus, which detritus is one of the number one biggest components of a fish's gut biome, which I never vacuum my tanks ever. But say you did want to get that up, I would take my hose, and most people use like a snake or a python or something, depending on what you have, is you have that in one hand and then waft at the bottom so you can kick and waft that stuff off the top of the sand into there. But you do not need to, and you should not deep clean your substrate. That is where your microbiology exists. So think about it as if you're keeping a garden. Now, when you keep a garden and you got brand new dirt, there's not a whole lot of microbiology living in that, and your garden's not going to do as well. But if you have a seasoned garden and you have seasoned soil where the microbiology is there, and things just symbiotically do their job because nature's been doing it a long time. This thing's got its job, this thing's got its job, they all got their own jobs, and they do all kinds of magical things. The essence is in nature. Within those substrates actually help with the plants, the roots, all kinds of things. Out of my roots, I can pull my roots out of my plants. They will, without CO2 and everything else, they will have the fuzzy fine roots on them and everything. I never gravel vac, I never do anything. And also, if you do run CO2, only run it during the day. Put it on a timer. Do not run your CO2 at night. If you run your CO2 at night, it will kill your fish. That CO2 will gather up and it can kill your fish. Let's see. Rescue Dog Treat says, how low of a temperature can a common pleco endure outside? I don't know. I really wouldn't be keeping common plecos outside, in my opinion. There's already a problem enough down here in Florida where they harass the manatees, and common plecos are not good to get out into the waterways. I could not tell you what temperature they could go low to. Honestly, I would never throw one of those outside. Cody V, my sword plant pushes new leaves, but they quickly become thin and skeletal help. So you could potentially need more calcium and hardness into your water. The acidity could be killing it. Or there could be algicides that come through waterways, and depending on your water system, sometimes things like that can come through the water. and rip and melt plants apart too. So it's really hard to tell without like your water parameters and stuff. But if your water is too soft, maybe try getting some GH booster or something to bring some mineralization to bring that up for them. Scott Talley says CO2 without water movement, question mark. You can. Actually, the best way to do that with CO2 and without water movement is if you had some sort of container, which I can't remember the show. Aquarium Co-op did a video of a fish store down in San Francisco. I can't remember what the name of that fish store is, but anyways, the guy had used these Gatorade bottles, and he would put the CO2 in there, and he had a piece of styrofoam in it that would just float it up. So the CO2 would actually release itself naturally into the water, and it would get consumed just naturally throughout that way. That way you can keep actually a stable level of CO2 without worrying about having to turn it on, off, and or to be pumping it through. So it becomes passive that way. Wow, there's a lot of questions here. Oh, I am way over the hour mark. Crap. Okay. I gotta get all these tanks turned back on too. You guys, I wish I could keep going on with all these questions. Oh my god, there's lots of good ones. John's Creatures, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Lucas, how is everything? I got a question for you. My Neo shrimp don't breed as often anymore. What is it that I'm doing back to sea or back to work? See you, buddy. So what can happen is if you pick from them for too long, they'll just slow down on breeding for you. So this is why I run multiple tanks of shrimp, is so I can pick out of one tank for a while, and then I'll pick out of another one for a while. That way it keeps them in more of a constant creation, and or they can figure out their population limit. So you didn't take out of them, they'll find out their population limit, and then they will not really grow out beyond that because they know they could kill themselves, especially if they've done it before. So I hope that helps you out. But all right, I gotta hop off here. I appreciate you guys so much for the support, being here, watching. I hope you guys all learned something for this. And it was kind of a wild Q&A. I enjoyed it though. And yeah. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Until next time, peace everybody. Phew, I'm out of here. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da, 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 ra-da-ta-ta.